from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey, boys and girls, what is going on? Lee Sanders back with you guys for an all-new edition of the RCWR show for this Monday night of October 20th, 2025. Have y'all got that Halloween candy yet? Probably not. Some of them prices is a little bit ridiculous right now, isn't it? I know some of you guys are probably going, nah, Lee. Honestly, man, and look, there ain't no shame in your game. If you deciding to go the Dollar Tree route, the Family Dollar route, ain't nothing wrong with that. The candy, look, the kids ain't gonna notice the difference, right? All they know is free candy being passed out. Their favorite free candy being passed out. That is all they know, right? For real. Hey, hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I cannot complain about my weekend, although I gotta say, I'm stressed out. I have been dealing with a lot of studying these past couple of days, really trying to test my memory retention because I've got not one, but two exams I have to take the same day this coming Thursday. Now, luckily, it's not a case where I'm doing it back to back. So like I'm going from one class, taking an exam, and then my next class, I'm doing another exam. But it's a lot. Not to mention, for the first time ever, I am working with a legit newspaper, and I am working on a investigative piece that the goal is, if everything lines up properly, and I've already reached out to those that I'm interested in interviewing, getting some words from and all that. If everything maps itself out the way I need to structure this first time investigative piece that I'm doing, if everything works itself out, then it's possible that this piece of mine could get published. I think maybe this week, or the worst case scenario, my editor feels, okay, you're on the right path. Let's fine tune this, get rid of that, put more of this in, and then maybe we'll have it set up for next week. So I got that. I'm juggling a lot right now. I am like wearing so many different hats right now. It's not even funny. But hey, I always tell my friends and family I love a challenge and rise to the occasion for this one. I'm definitely going to be doing it. A little bit of a lighter note, happier note. You all will be very pleased to know that your man finally got the email that he has been waiting for since summer. I finally got my email from my community college letting me know, hey, your diploma has been shipped out. So my associate's degree in media production, it has been shipped as of today. And they told me be on the lookout for it. It'll be in the mail within the next 2 weeks. Longer if you live outside the United States. I'm going, well, that definitely ain't my issue at all. So I ain't got nothing to worry about there. And I got a second email letting me know that if I wanted to, I could download a digital version of my associate's degree. So that's pretty bad. As for a modest fee, for a small, modest fee, that's pretty good. So I am on cloud nine right now. As soon as I had told the wifey that the degree is coming, she said, hallelujah. Because I've been driving her crazy all summer long. I've been driving her crazy going into fall. Like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? So now it's just okay. Now we know it's coming. We all got our little phones. We got the Ring doorbell app, all that good stuff. So now we're going to know when it arrives and all that. Speaking of Ring doorbell and all of that, how the hell did y'all manage? Like legit, because for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, so Monday morning, and I just happened to be up. So this is how I know. So late Sunday night going into Monday morning, I was studying and then I decided, okay, I'm ready for bed. Let me turn on Prime Video. And normally, what I've been doing off and on the past couple of weeks, I'll put on Prime Video and I have a subscription to HBO Max over there. So either I'm watching Deadly Women, or rather, Deadly Women is watching me because I'm falling asleep to it, or I'm putting on Universal Crime and all they will show is episodes of Columbo. So I will have Columbo playing while I'm sleeping. And so I hop on Prime right around 3 in the morning, and Prime Video, it was like I was completely logged off. And I'm going, what the hell is that about? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How do you explain this? So I'm looking at the barcode. Those of you know what I'm talking about. When you're logged out of something, they either give you a QR code to scan, and then that'll take you so you can do what you need to do, or you go on the website and put in a series of characters, and you can pretty much go that way. So I was doing the QR code, obviously, couldn't log in for nothing. I'm going, okay, this makes no sense. So then I tried to see if I could access Prime Video on my phone, thinking, well, I can just stream what I'm trying. I couldn't even log in on my phone. And I didn't think nothing much of it at the time. I just said, something must be going on weird with Prime Video, maybe an update or whatever. They'll probably fix it wee hours of the night. I'll wake up in the morning, I'll be good to go. I wake up this morning, and first thing I do, is Monday morning. A couple of my classes are online, and then I have a couple of classes in person on campus. I get in front of the computer after, feeding my girls, giving them their walk and everything, and I try to log on to Canvas. Is basically equivalent to Blackboard. Those of you that have taken your classes and you know about logging in, you know what I'm talking about, not to get all technical. Couldn't log into those things. So I couldn't even participate in any of my classes. And the professors were well aware. Like, this was like a widespread issue. I'm going on and on and on about this because it didn't just affect students. I mean, this had affected apparently Apple, you name it. There were a lot of websites that were greatly impacted because everybody somehow is connected to AWS, Amazon, and everything. And so this was something, again, it started around 3 o'clock this morning, and it did not finally get resolved until I would say about maybe 2.5 hours ago, give or take, maybe even almost 3 hours ago, but definitely 2 hours ago, 8 p.m. Eastern. So that would be 5 p.m. Pacific. That's when it was finally resolved. So it was really, really weird what all was going on there. It really makes you take a step back and go, we got to break up this monopoly, don't we? Like, we've got too many enterprises running around that has their hands on so many things that so many people rely on. Even my Ring doorbell app, and I had verified, even Ring had suffered because they are connected to AWS. So if you were trying to maybe see previous recordings, I don't know, maybe your results were different, but when I was trying to access previous Ring doorbell recordings, it wasn't allowing me to do that. when I was trying to log into my Ring account. It wasn't allowing me to do that. All kinds of weird craziness that was going on. But seems that everything is now back to normal, which is good. Which is good. Normalcy is, but it still makes you take a step back and go, pick a good night to tune in. We're definitely going to talk about tonight's WWE Raw. Also got the very latest. I'll give you guys my thoughts on AEW's WrestleDream from over the weekend. And apparently, all that drama that came about from former AEW trainer and producer Sarah Stock as she went into a social media little spat there with Brodie Lee's widow, Amanda Huber. Dive into that. Also, sound off thoughts on the passing of Kiss's Ace Frehley. Also, we had a wrestling legend, definitely a Hall of Famer, that passed away. So, nice little tidbits of stuff that we can get into. And hey, I'm not fooling around tonight, y'all. Your man's got his melatonin right here. I am making sure that once we hit that 1 hour mark, I got the counter going. I'm going to pop two of these bad boys in to make sure I am able to go to bed on time and get a good night's rest because good God almighty, my day on Tuesdays, it starts so freaking early. So let's burn through this Monday Night Raw. So, of course, the last burning image that we had in our minds from last week's Monday Night Raw was Seth Rollins being betrayed by his vision to cause a division. Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, the Bronsons turning on Seth Rollins. Hell of a cliffhanger. Love the fact that when you were checking out this past Friday's SmackDown, one of the first things that they went over was that explosive Monday Night Raw ending and just teasing the potential ramifications that was going to be coming from that. Of course, a lot of buzz all throughout the weekend. What is going on with Seth Rollins? This is this guy injured? Is it maybe another case where it's the mind games once again? How far is this going to go? You couldn't help but just kind of look a little cockeyed, side-eyed, and kind of tip your head a little bit, going, I believe it when I see it, right? But you see all these weird things that was going on, and we brought up a lot of these points on last Monday's show. So to have that last burning image of what happened with Rollins, and then we go into tonight's Monday Night Raw from Sacramento, California. A lot of fond memories of California. Mostly bad, but I do have a decent amount of fond memories while I was living in California. I lived out there back in the early 90s. I lived out there for about a year and a half. Boy, I tell you, I had experienced my first girlfriend ever in California. I think I kissed a girl for the second time, only this time I liked it. I mean, I did not want to leave California, but one of the best parts about leaving California was I didn't have to worry about the Crips and the Bloods. I didn't have to worry about being picked on. Just imagine being a 11, 12-year old, and you constantly have your mom making sure that you're not wearing the wrong colors because she's afraid you might get shot, right? It's a whole lot of crap that was just going on with all of that. But a lot of fond memories. I used to pass through the Sacramento area all the time. So definitely some nice fond memories. I like how things kicked off with Adam Pearce, who is getting ready to drop the bombshell news on us when the Bronsons and Paul Heyman come in there interrupting. And eventually we find out that Seth Rollins had got emergency surgery, significant surgery, that according to Adam Pearce is going to be seeing Rollins out indefinitely. He's going to be out for several months. So you're hearing that, you're going, still don't quite believe that we're really, really done with Seth Rollins. I need to hear those magical words. Title stripped, vacant title. And sure enough, Adam Pearce revealing that Seth Rollins has been stripped. You heard me right, stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, if you have not ever been a fan of Seth Rollins, you're jumping up and down. You are in heaven right now because I don't know who it was, but somebody put up an image of like every single time that Seth Rollins has been a world heavyweight champion, and you're just going, Jesus Christ, it really is the Seth Rollins show, isn't it? This guy's been a champion like every freaking 2 years or something. Like, what the hell? So, for you guys that cannot stand Seth Rollins, you probably were looking at this and you said, this is fantastic. Let's free this up. Yes, let's go in a different direction. We need to. Sacramento, California, that crowd out there tonight, they actually booed at hearing Seth Rollins was no longer going to be their world heavyweight champion. So we already know that CM Punk won the right to face Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, but now that we know Rollins is no longer champion, what does this mean for Punk? What does this mean for the World Heavyweight Championship? Quite simple, my pretty babies. We found out that there was going to be a battle royale tonight, and the winner of that battle royal will go on to face CM Punk. And get this, y'all. Boy, it seems that WWE is really, really listening to a lot of the criticism that has been given to them about this particular series. But the winner of the Battle Royal will face CM Punk on the November 1st edition of Saturday Night's Main Event on Peacock. You heard me right. Look, let's be honest here. The first two episodes, I would say, of Saturday Night's Main Event, it was great. I particularly loved the old school injection that Jesse the Body Ventura was giving. Jesse the Governor Ventura was giving. And as we saw very quickly, Jesse Ventura was a little bit too outspoken, a little bit too candid, as they scaled his role back drastically. For those of you that's not aware, those of us that watched every single main event returned so far, his role kept being more and more diminished till finally now we just see Jesse Ventura usually just once, and that's really it. Kind of sucks. But the main argument that a lot of us would make after those first two initial Saturday night events was, there's really nothing special going on here. You're just watching. I think the exact words that I used was quite poetic, and it really captured what Saturday night's main event is all about. I basically said, look, if SmackDown is side A of a vinyl record, then Saturday night's main event is side B to that same vinyl record. That's it in a nutshell. And, a lot of the times it would almost mirror these crown jewel events where you're going, there's really no reason to watch this. Nothing significant, monumental is going to occur. So, you know what? I'm all right. I'm good. Really, I'm good. But leave it to WWE. You think about the last Saturday night's main event where it was Bill Goldberg's retirement match and everything. We saw him ride off into the sunset, and we already went through that whole ordeal. So to pretty much follow that up with the November 1st Saturday night's main event where we are guaranteed, well, or are we? I got to pose that question. Are we really guaranteed a world heavyweight champion come November 1st? I don't know. I don't know. It's 12 days away. Y'all marinate on that. You tell me, you know where I'm going with that. You tell me what you all are thinking, but I don't know. I don't know. It'd be really good to see somebody walk out as the world heavyweight champion, wouldn't it? But stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. So, men's battle royale closing out tonight's Monday Night Raw. Final participants in this one, the Usos, phenomenal AJ Styles, LA Knight, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. We see AJ Styles try to go for his trademark phenomenal forearm. Both Usos ended up super kicking the hell out of him. And keep in mind, this had came shortly after Jimmy Uso saved his brother from getting eliminated and was telling him to join in, double team on the action and everything, because the way Jimmy kind of had this laid out, the pep talk that he gave his brother earlier in the night. Hey, look, you don't need to worry about what Roman Reigns is going to do. Don't really worry about what I'm going to do. You need to worry about what you're going to do. Jay needs to worry about Jay. It's like, you got to be a little selfish here, especially when it comes to a match of this magnitude, because everybody's going to be looking out for themselves. And Jimmy did say to Jay, he going after everybody, even if it means he's got to go through his own brother, then so be it. So that already kind of set the tone and everything. First strike, right? It's either hit or be hit, okay? So nice little tag teaming that was going on there from the Usos. LA Knight came in, grabbed Jimmy, if I'm not mistaken. Wait. I'm trying to think. AJ somehow got eliminated right after that super kick. He shortly got eliminated. And then, if I remember correctly, LA Knight and Jimmy Uso, they were tied up between the ropes. Jay Uso saw what was going on, sent both of those guys over the ropes. Jimmy couldn't believe what Jay did, was mouthing off. Jay just looked on like it is what it is. We then see Dirty Dominic Mysterio attack Jay from behind, tried to set up the 619. Jay was able to counter that, pretty much sent Dom flying over the top rope, pretty much picking up the win. So your winner for that Battle Royale and winning the right to go face CM Punk. Saturday night's main event, November 1st on Peacock, on the Mighty Cock. It's going to be Jey Uso, CM Punk, one-on-one World Heavyweight Championship. Now, for those of you that's going, well, wait a minute here, Lee. Where were the Bronsons? Surely the Bronsons were involved in this. Well, what's going on here? Bronsons were eliminated, not from this match directly, but they were eliminated from participating in this match. It all just basically stemmed from the fact that they took Seth Rollins out, and Adam Pearce gave them a verbal scolding to kick off the show. Which, by the way, I love when WWE does those episodes of Monday Night Raw where when things end on such a really damn good cliffhanger, the way any episodic series is, whether you're a fan of Walking Dead or insert your favorite show, it's always awesome when that last burning image that you have in your head that's just keeping you preoccupied until the very next episode drops, that first opening scene is pretty much picking fresh off of what you last remember. I always love when they do it like that. Sometimes you just gotta go in hot like that. So kudos to WWE for structuring it that way. But no, Adam Pearce was livid. I mean, he verbally went into the Bronsons over the despicable heinous act that he called it, and what they did to Seth Rollins, and mentioning the fact that he knew in retrospect that Seth Rollins was pretty banged up from WrestlePalooza, but he didn't know to what extent, and that sadly they never really will know just how bad Rollins was because the number that they did on him, right? Because it could have been a situation where Rollins could have just continued to work a little banged up and maybe he would have recovered over time, would have taken him much longer, kind of one of those. But with what the Bronsons did, the world may never know. So Bronson Reed, oh God, that World Heavyweight Championship looks so good on him. A taste of things to come, I tell you. Very reluctant to give the championship back to Adam Pearce. Forced Adam Pearce to say please, and I just loved how Pearce. I'm looking at particularly, and I don't know if anybody else was peeping this out, but when Bronson stepped up to Pearce, I'm going, young. Pierce is the wrong one you want to be stepping up to because that's a big boy, that Adam Pierce, and that man can still go. I don't know about this one. I don't know if you want that kind of smoke, Brawny Braun, but man, seeing Pierce take off his glasses, and I'm just going, oh, Pierce ain't having this. Pierce about to snap. Pierce actually sucked it up and somehow he used that word please while still sounding very commanding, maintaining his position. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I ate that up big time. Braun did not give him the championship, instead handed it to Paul Heyman. Heyman handing Pierce the championship. Uh, Later on in the night, though, that's when Pierce would have the last laugh. He actually sent for Paul Heyman, letting Heyman know your boys, the Bronze, they're not going to be in that matchup. So, it's interesting because when the Bronsons got word of what had happened and they were questioning Paul Heyman, like, what the hell? I didn't particularly care about the little hyped pep talk that Heyman had gave the guys, but look at what happened once Paul Heyman made his exit and how the Bronsons, they pretty much were kind of looking at each other, and some of what they were saying was a little bit inaudible, but one of the things that definitely was definitive was them saying, we can mess up a lot of people, we can hurt a lot of peoples. And so you're kind of wondering, this I just felt was kind of a missed opportunity because there was a missed opportunity here to have the Bronsons make their presence felt, even though they weren't part of the Royal Rumble. There was definitely a missed opportunity to have these guys be involved and continue to push that needle of Adam Pearce, because it was starting to look like maybe we're gonna see the beginning of a tipping point there for Adam Pearce, the way they had set things up with him and then the Bronsons tonight and all that. I thought we were going to kind of get a continuation of that, but no, wasn't meant to be. And then for those of you wondering, well, what about Becky Lynch? Did Becky Lynch cross paths with those guys? Did she smack any of them up? She did cross paths with Maxine Dupree. Oh, correction. Becky Lynch. She did cross paths with Paul Heyman after her match with Maxine Dupree, which was honestly a really good match. I enjoyed it. I know the girls had did their thing. What was it, last week or the week before? I think it was last week. My God, Maxine Dupree just leaps and bounds of tremendous improvement. And the match that she had with Becky for this week's Raw definitely complimented big time what the girls did the previous week. I enjoyed it. Honestly, I don't know how you guys feel. With me personally, I actually wouldn't mind seeing these two girls lock up again. And if maybe they want to try to extend it to a pay-per-view, like let the third encounter go down at a pay-per-view, I wouldn't mind it, because when it's all said and done, especially with the way that this match had ended, because essentially our poor girl, Maxine Dupree, she essentially was humiliated um, in this rematch with Becky Lynch. I mean, don't get me wrong, Maxine Dupree, she got in there a decent amount of offense. Very calm, very collected, very, very smooth. It seemed as though if she was a little bit nervous, which I had picked up a little bit during the first encounter, but I could tell she was really trying to slow things down and let Becky take the lead, let Becky call it and everything. And this go round, it just seemed that now that Maxine kind of had that rapport with Becky, it really made this one, just that. You know how it is. You're nervous when you first go to the doctor. You're not really sure what all you can expect. And then it's kind of one of those, once you get that one doctor, that one nurse, or whoever, receptionist, that whatever trepidations you had, it goes away. And now, whenever you return, you want to keep going to that same person. Or it's a case where you go, oh, I had them last time. I'm at ease because, oh, this is going to be good. Right? That's definitely how you had picked it up between Maxine Dupree and Becky Lynch in their rematch here. Only this time, this was for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Maxine Dupree winning via DQ. Final moments of this matchup, there was a roll up by Maxine that got a near fall, and Becky just snapped big time, and she ended up hitting Maxine upside the dome with the championship to cause the disqualification. Um, it's just weird what is going on here because, 1 minute it seems like the referees are, I don't know, like 1 minute the ref. Oh, wait a minute, my hand gesture. I just did a weird hand gesture. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do the hand gesture because now by webcam. Hang on, guys. Hang on. There you go. I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Don't zoom in. Don't zoom in. I'm so animated with my hands. I keep reminding myself I got to be careful and not do anything. You guys have no idea. It's really hard for me to just kind of keep my hands moving around. Like I gotta like I'm fidgeting with stuff just to make sure I don't throw my hands up because I like to be so expressive with the hands and everything. So they're definitely going to run this back. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually were to run this back at Saturday night's main event. Honestly, but a solid matchup. Definitely one of my favorite highlights of the night. Dominic Mysterio pulling another classic one here as the men's intercontinental championship was on the line as Dominic defended against Rusev. Leave it up to Dom Dom pulling off the shenanigans yet again. Final moments of this matchup. Dominic tried going for his little hammer. We know how that had played out last go round. Referee sees this coming, takes the hammer. He's trying to toss it. Rusev is like, yo, why are you worried about that damn hammer? Dominic coming from behind, kicking Rusev right in the crown jewels. And follows it up with a frog splash. Bada bing, bada boom. Dominic retaining it. Fun match. Fun little finish. Hey, crowd was definitely behind this, heavily invested in it. They love them some dirty Dom. Dom can do no wrong. Those were really two of your best matches for the entire night. But you know what? I'll even give a little bit of an honorable mention to AJ Styles and Dragon Lee because we got some new tag team champions in AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. They defeated who was that? JD McDonough and Finn Balor. And I tell you what, this was a nice, good feel moment. If you were looking for one good feel moment for tonight's Monday Night Raw, it was this moment right here. And I think it was largely in part. I mean, look, great tag chemistry between all four of these guys, right? This was definitely kind of one of my sleeper hit matches of the night, I personally feel. AJ Styles definitely proving without a shadow of doubt these recent weeks that he's got one last run in him as a world heavyweight champion. And that's without a doubt. That is without a doubt. And as an AJ Styles fan, legit, it actually put a smile on my face to see him get the tag team titles. I don't think this is going to be the be all end all. I don't see this being a case where AJ and Dragon Lee are going to be holding on to those tag titles for 6, 7, 8 months. I don't see anything of that magnitude going on. No, no. I can see AJ and Dragon Lee holding on to the tag titles definitely for the rest of this year. And I would say definitely by Royal Rumble, if not maybe WrestleMania. Oh no, no, correction, not WrestleMania. Definitely by Royal Rumble or maybe close to the next pay per view before WrestleMania is when AJ will likely drop the tag titles and all of that. Um, you know, I'm in an interesting position here with this because a big part of me, I love what's been happening with the storytelling, the long play storytelling at that involving Judgment Day. But let's be honest, and I don't think it was of any fault whatsoever to JD and Balor, but WWE Creative failed these guys. They gave them the tag titles. What was that back in June or July? And pretty much didn't really do anything with them. I kind of have this feeling that with AJ and Dragon Lee as the tag champions, and I definitely would encourage WWE to set it up so that AJ and Dragon, they're bouncing around on all the shows looking for the smoke wherever they can get. I think that would definitely be a really good thing to do to continue to not just propel AJ Styles and really position him properly for shortly after John Cena rides off into the sunset, and you can easily just transition right to AJ and everything. But look at the great continuation of the rub off that you're giving to Dragon Lee, who debuted some new mechanical wings. Go check that out. It's actually kind of cool. The wings flap and all of that good stuff. And he had a tail. I don't know how I feel about him. The wings, it's like, ugh. But then there's also the part of me that's going, well, wait a minute here. We've already got one bird person, technically. It's, or one winged individual, Lyra Valkyria. And now we're going the dragon route, huh? My whole thing is we're really going to embrace this whole Dragon Lee, Dragon style type of, why not pull a Ultimo Dragon? Why not pull a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and kind of go back to some, y'all know I ain't lying when I say this, but some of that gear that Ricky Dragon Steamboat was pushing back in the day, I love that shit. Seriously, I love that shit with a passion. Man, if Dragon Lee can get some permission to maybe spit some fire and all that. Oh, I would love to see him throw that in there. See some other stuff from tonight's Monday Night Raw. I mean, I think that is it. We were talking about tag champions, Kabuki Warriors, little video package. They loved what they did to EO and Rhea Ripley out in Japan. By now, you guys had saw some of that footage that was floating around on social media. I wish WWE, before anybody asks, because we used to get this question asked off and on over the years. Hey, Lee, how come you don't cover the WWE Japanese events, Japan events or whatever? And it's like, because WWE doesn't air them. They don't air them. So if all we can do is essentially look at the card and know the results, like anybody can look that up, but give us actual access to the matches, oh, then we're really, really talking. But far as I know, there was no accessibility, at least for those of us here in the U.S. There was no accessibility to check out that particular live event. Would have been nice though. Tell you something else that was nice: seeing Lillian Garcia back announcing. It was great. Just probably for this week, 9 times out of 10. Stephanie Vakir was in a non-title matchup against Roxanne Perez. Vakir picking up the victory in this one. Um, good little match between both girls. Raquel coming in there post match trying to help Roxanne do a 2-on-1 beatdown. Cue up Nikki Bella, who came out there for the save. It would appear that Nikki Bella had some type of a wardrobe malfunction yet again. It happens. It happens. It happens. Meanwhile, Lyra Valkyria was chatting it up with Bailey, as Bailey apparently has some big ideas, some surprises. As Lyra is going, what exactly does this entail? Bailey letting Lyra know she's not going to reveal them until next week. You heard me right, next week. By the way, as far as that number one contender battle royale for the participants who all were involved, I already mentioned Jimmy and Jey Uso. Sheamus was in there as well, besides AJ Styles, Akira Tozawa, El Grande Americano, Dirty Dom, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Penta, Rusev, Eric, Ivar, Kofi Kingston, LA Knight, Dragon Lee, Grayson Waller. Those are all your guys involved in there. Show went by pretty fast. Um, but this was really I can't stand battle royales. I just can't. Now look, I'll give WWE credit. At least they rarely do them. At least nowadays, when it's done, it's a case where there's some substance behind it. So I'll definitely give them that and everything. But my biggest takeaway, just so weird that the Bronsons were not involved in any form in this. Not even just to be out there causing havoc. Just weird. And then the fact that with Rhea out, and then you had Bailey and Lyra not wrestling this week. It just kind of weird. It really, really was weird. I just really felt a little bit of a below average episode, but still you had a couple of bright spots in it. I won't say it was a shitter of an episode, but fairly good. Fairly good. I'll say it was fairly good, right? So that is Monday Night Raw in the books. We did pretty good at about 43 minutes right now. That's good. Get to burn into some more wrestling talk, a little bit of entertainment talk as well. I'm aware of this stuff that is going on with Andrade. So, it seems that more and more information is now coming out with Andrade. And we talked about Andrade and his whole situation a couple of weeks ago when he was granted his, release, I guess. Or actually, we found out he was fired from WWE. However you want to look at it. But it would seem that when we saw him a couple of weeks ago on AEW programming, it seemed as though he was just instantly being put with the Don Callis family and all that. We're going, oh, all right, so we're off to this start. Okay, this is the direction we're going. Okay, and then Andrade just mysteriously disappeared, and now you're kind of led to believe these reports that's floating around that apparently I was listening to Stevie Richards talk about this too. This whole contract idea that exists, where and shout out to Lance Storm for pretty much saying no. This is how the contracts are structured, which I just think is really grimy on WWE's part. Basically, it states, for those of you that's not aware, if you are fired from WWE with just cause, uh, basically WWE has this option where they could tack on, hey, you can't work for any other wrestling promotion for an entire year. The hell with a 90-day compete, can't do anything for 90 days. Like, we can tack on a year. It just seems so grimy, man. It really, really does. And, what I don't understand is, if we're led to believe that Andrade had these, alleged wellness policy violations, had nothing to do with weed, because that has since been, with all the laws statewide. Yeah, you knew WWE was eventually gonna, you know, relax big time on that and everything. But, and of course, WWE has been known notoriously for when a wrestler gets injured, pretty much the contract kind of freezes so they can pretty much add on X amount of dates to the contract for however long that wrestler was out for. It's happened with Rey Mysterio a couple of times. Go look it up. So to see the stuff that's going on with Andrade, you're going, well, look, if the guy doesn't want to be there and he's pretty much told the company F you, and for whatever respective reasons, okay, well, then you're going to go ahead and, all right, he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be there. Like, it is what it is. But it just makes WWE come off real, real petty that, oh, he's getting ready to, not if we got something to say about this. And then they invoke that whole clause. I know a lot of people were bringing up the whole Brock Lesnar situation. Here's the deal when it comes to Brock Lesnar. That whole Brock Lesnar situation, that was ugly, 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 ugly. I remember when I think I was on the air and we did like a couple of shows before Brock Lesnar had made his return to the WWE. I remember there were a couple of shows back in the vintage days of the RCWR show, where we dissected what was going on there between Brock Lesnar, Vince McMahon, and WWE, because, Brock Lesnar had reached a point in his career where he felt, you know what, as far as wrestling goes, I've done any and everything. Not to mention, as far as this wrestling goes, I'm tired of feeling like a circus animal. I want to go test the avenues elsewhere. Hell, I would love to go try to test the waters as a football player. Maybe try to see if I can, go pro in the NFL. And that's a hell of I mean, really take a step back and think about that for a second. Normally it's the other way around. Normally it's, hey, I was a football player. I did college and got banged up, didn't make it to the pros, went into wrestling. Or, hey, I played college football. I went to the pros. I got injured. And all right, now I'm doing the wrestler thing. But to go, nah, I'm going to do college football and I'm going to do amateur wrestling. I'm going to do, you know, wrestling entertainment now. And now I'm going to make the transition into pro NFL. I remember when hearing the news he was going to try to go do pro NFL. Well, I was right there. I was eating it up. I was pulling for him, man, with the Minnesota Vikings. I was pulling for him, but it wasn't meant to be. But I know that Vince McMahon, he tried. He was trying to get Brock Lesnar to re-sign. and Brock just wasn't having any of it. And so, you know, Vince was like, okay, well, look, because back then, Vince's biggest fear, and I think Kurt Angle has confirmed this over the years in recent interviews, definitely on his respective podcasts. Um, Vince's biggest fear, even though he didn't really look at them as competition, he did notice the moves that they were doing, and I'm talking about TNA wrestling. And the fact that you had Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Sting, AJ Styles, Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, James Mitchell, Abyss. I mean, you just had a great who's who roster in TNA back in the day. Vince McMahon's biggest fear was that Brock Lesnar would go over to TNA wrestling. So he wasn't trying to have any of that go down. And so when Brock decided he wasn't going to renew, Vince basically was like, okay, all right, well, if that be the case, then, you can't wrestle anywhere for like 7 years. And Brock was like, yeah, sure, whatever, dude, like it's whatever. And I still remember all the craziness that had went down when Brock had did that thing out for New Japan. When he did the thing for New Japan, and mixed in between all of that MMA, all that UFC, all that stuff. And so it's night and day, very different set of circumstances that was going on with Brock and then compared to Andrade. I didn't want to spend too much time on Brock, but I just thought it was so important to, because I saw a lot of people trying to go, oh, it's kind of like the Brock. Not quite. Not quite. I can see where you guys would make that correlation, but this is drastically different. Drastically different. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in court, because I would say to Andrade, dude, fucking fight this. This should be something you should be able to win, because first of all, if the language of the contract, this is where it gets a little tricky, because unless WWE had said to Andrade verbally and or in writing, hey, this is what's going on, you are being fired with cause, and here's the reasons why, and we're going to activate this clause in the contract. Please refer to section 239B or whatever the hell they're, unless it was broken down to Andrade through legal. Now, to be devil's advocate, some could say, well, Lee, maybe Andrade never tried to pick up the phone. Maybe he never tried to open up an email. Maybe he never, if he was giving text messages, maybe he just ghosted them completely. And well, then that is serious negligence on his part. It is, because apply that to the real world for a second. If you or I were to essentially pull no call, no shows at our jobs for X amount of days going into X amount of weeks, right? Um, we best not try to ever show our face at that current employer. We best have moved on to somebody else, or right? Let's be real. Now, for some of us, we may go, oh man, they didn't hook me up with that last paycheck. I've been getting direct deposit. Like, yo, these guys owe me my last paycheck. Why ain't they giving me my last? Oh man, it must be because I'm no longer an employee. So now, if you smart, you're gonna pick up the phone and you're gonna ask what's going on with the money that they owe you. Like, has that been mailed out or what? You're not gonna show your face to the place of employment. And again, if we're led to believe that Andrade, making a scene after he was out on hiatus, basically job abandonment with WWE, and they pretty much escorted him off the premises and all that other stuff. then the time for talking and trying to find common ground and all that is thrown essentially out the window. So from a legality standpoint, not that I'm a lawyer, but I'm just saying from a legality standpoint, if you want to kind of just look at it a little suspiciously, you can make the argument that WWE may feel Andrade was doing all of these things on purpose, that he was sabotaging himself and basically, trying to get his way out of working for WWE and all that. And to that, I say this: if it was really like that, I can't help but wonder how much of what's the right words I'm looking for. I can't help but wonder how much frustration he had, if any, creatively in WWE, or if it was just a case where, besides creatively, he's no longer with Charlotte Flair. Just the totality of all that, he just wanted to go elsewhere. There's always a way to get your point across. And look, we'll never really know until he's a little bit more vocal about the circumstances and all that. But that is a to be continued story, seeing how all of that is playing out with Andrade and everything. Also, this whole stuff, I got a hearty chuckle out of it, but it spread like wildfire. This ridiculous report that was floating around that WWE was looking to tap into AI to basically start booking the show. And I will admit, though, I did enjoy seeing all the different memes and generated images that was running around, showing the real Booker of the Year, not Triple H in front of his Apple computer. No, no, no. It was actually ChatGPT that was telling uh, Triple H and WWE how to book their shit. I love. I read this. I gotta say, I read this, and I'm going, no way, no how, no, 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 no. And it's funny that we're talking about WWE AI and all that, because my investigative report, it actually has to do with AI. So um, I was, seeing this news and everything, and basically, so here's the real deal for those of you that got so engulfed with some of those funny images and the story that's running around. So here's the real deal about what's happening here. So a couple of weeks ago, a guy by the name of Cyrus Kwasari, Kosari, who had previously worked as a senior producer at One and a lead producer for BuzzFeed, took to LinkedIn to post that he'd been hired as WWE's senior director of creative strategy. Okay. And part of that, he said that if you've known me for any part of my life, he kind of posted this on his LinkedIn. You know how passionate I am about WWE. The storytelling, the production, and the athleticism combined to make the most exciting and enduring television and live events, decade after decade. WWE's brand and product have captivated me and inspired my work for as long as I can remember. I'm so excited to be here. So, the way this is kind of operating here, as far as what his plans are involving AI, because that is a little bit in his wheels, the differently. But basically, this guy's been playing around with AI technology, for a couple of years now, and he's going to be looking to help out with their video portfolio, especially when it comes to live streaming, when it comes to graphics, and everything like that. But as far as we're just going to ultimately rely on creative AI to be creative for when you've got minds such as Triple H, Paul Levesque, Shawn Michaels, Paul Heyman, Michael P.S. Hayes, Abyss, Adam Pierce, Jeremy, Jamie Noble, I'm sorry, Jamie Noble, Billy Kidman. They're just, the list goes on and on. Mark Calloway, The Undertaker. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. As far as creative going through AI, let me tell you, as somebody that has played with AI for a couple of years, that has been learning a lot of things as far as ethic laws and codes and all that when it comes to AI, I would strongly advise WWE, do not throw everything into AI as far as helping you come up with scripts, writing you scripts from scratch. I would tell this to anybody, like, look, if you are going to use AI as maybe a study aid from the standpoint of, hey, look, I got all of this. I want to give you AI. I want to give you this information, and I want you to kind of quiz me on this information, right? So I'm giving you this information to basically quiz me on it to see how much I know. Okay, if you're going to use it as that type of a study aid, that's fine. If you are maybe going to come at AI from the standpoint, yo, I want to bounce some ideas off of you. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking XYZ, da 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 da. I considered this, but I'm also thinking about that. Part of me is also considering going in this direction, but if I were to go in that direction, da, da, what do you think? Like, if you're gonna bounce ideas, if you're gonna use AI to, bounce ideas off of and kind of fine tune, kind of sharpen your thinking, your critical approach to your writing and all that, that's okay too. That is okay as well. But where the line starts being kind of is when you're basically going to AI and you're saying, do my homework for me. And I just do not see WWE going in that direction. Let me tell you something. If WWE is getting to that point where they're entertaining going in that freaking direction, then there needs to be some heads. I don't care who it is. There needs to be some heads that need to be shown the door, and you need to go on ahead and bring in a team that will, come in there and really do the damn thing justice, right? But don't believe these reports, these bogus reports that's floating around about, oh, eventually WWE is going to go to, full blown AI for their creative writing and booking. No, I'm not seeing that happen whatsoever. Um, don't believe the hype. Seriously, fam, don't believe the hype. Also, I want to issue some thoughts and condolences. Rest in peace to Robert Horne. You guys better know him as Mo of the tag team Men on a Mission. They were one of my favorite tag teams from back in the day in the WWF era. And this man had been dealing with a lot of health issues over the years. I know in 2022, he had a really bad bout with COVID, and he suffered from some serious complications with COVID. And I know right before COVID hit and he got impacted by it, he did do a because it was very rare he did interviews and everything, but there was one interview that he did. If you guys are a little bit curious, you want to check it out. There was something that he did with Hannibal, something that he did with Hannibal that you guys could check out. It went about 30 minutes, and relatively, one of the things that you notice off the break when you look at Mo is, I mean, he big dude, big dude, and you're just going. And when you look at that video, at the time that he did that interview, you're looking at him going, this guy must be in his 70s. And then you hear um, that at the time of his death, the guy's only 58 years old. 58 years old, but with all that extra. Now, look, when I was growing up, he was always a big dude. He wasn't as big as Viscera, aka Mabel. He wasn't as big as him, but Mo was a big dude in his own respected right. But when you see that video of that interview, he was, oof, it just makes you go, man, how is he able to keep all that weight? Like, but yeah, he had a lot of health complications. I also remember that there was, right before he suffered from complications of COVID, there was a liver transplant that he had a couple of years prior. And then in the years since then, like, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Combined with COVID, coming down with COVID, and then discovering that, doctors basically became concerned about his body rejecting a new liver. Yeah, of course. There's going to be concern about his body rejecting a liver. The guy just got a kidney transplant a couple of years prior, and now, he's being told, "Oh, looks like you are gonna need a freaking new liver." It's look. You can't tell people how to live their life, right? People are gonna do what they're gonna do. That's it. You can tell somebody until you're blue in the face, yo, you shouldn't be doing this because this is bad for you. Here's the ramifications of it. But people are, some people will either learn the hard way and then they realize, oh shit, I really got to get my act together. And then you got others that just go, nope, nope, nope. And then even at that, despite all the health issues, they roll the dice and some of the bad luck that comes their way, they still just keep right on doing what they've been doing. It's sad, I know, but that's just how some people operate and all of that. I know Mo ended up having be in a medical facility where he was in an oxygen tank and taking antibiotics, and I mean, just all kinds of crap. Um, the kidney had improved to the point where he no longer needed, he no longer was required dialysis, because that's like the worst thing. Once you are put on dialysis, you don't want that, because that means you're gonna have to go up a couple of times a week. I heard all the details that's involved in that, and it's just, oof, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, man. But when I was a kid growing up, one of my favorite tag teams was Men on a Mission. I still remember the funny vignettes that was used for those guys from back in the day. The timing of Men on a Mission too, you go back to that 93, 94, 95 period. This was right at that time when rap was really at its peak, and particularly you had the rise of gangster rap, Dr. Dre and Easy E and Tupac and Biggie, all those guys were running around. And Men on a Mission, yeah, they had this rap gimmick, but very they were very positive. They were very uplifting. They were trying to, they were the original New Day. For those of you, like, the best way that I can put it, they were the original New Day. Only they didn't have a third member in there. But they were trying to be, um, they were trying to spread the good word. Not in a biblical sense, but they were trying to do their community some good, and I really had enjoyed the message behind it. When I was a teenager, it just resonated with me so well because I wasn't trying to be walking around with my pants hanging off my ass and dark shades and chains and yo yo yo. I wasn't trying to do all that stupid shit. So to see these two guys come along and everything, um I loved it. I loved it. They ultimately had won the WWF Tag Team titles, although it was very, very, very brief. Um, Mo would go on to become Sir Mo, right? Everybody kind of knows all that. I remember when we were on the air and it came to Mabel's widow, Cassandra Frazier, when Viscera had died. Um, Forgive me, I'm kind of drawing just a little bit of because I'm trying to dust off the cobwebs a little bit. Forgive me, but I remember when Viscera had died, his widow Cassandra Frazier, she was in a really really bad headspace. I still remember when they were throwing the graphics up and all of that for that week's WWE program and how infuriated she was that WWE is like, okay, now you want to try to give this guy flowers after this guy had been suffering for so many years. And, she was like, if you really want to help this man now, you really want to give him his just due, pay him the back money that you owe him and all that. And I remember Mo had stepped in and he did his very best to make sure that she had all the help and resources that she needed as they were trying to do everything they could to raise money to give Viscera proper burial and all of that. Contrary to the belief that's out there about Viscera being involved in that CTE class action lawsuit by hooking up with that lawyer and Constantine Kairos or Kairos Constantine. He didn't have anything to do with that. And you go back, you look at the few interviews that he's given and everything. He never has said anything really derogatory or received very negatively about the WWE. You think maybe he'd go, yeah, this guy was racist and this guy was, he never went in those directions. He always went in he always took the higher route. He always took the higher route, man. So that's take that for what that's worth. That the fact that somebody that could have been bitter and probably would have had every right to be bitter and everything did not go in that direction whatsoever. So if you want to watch some really good, fun tag team action, look those guys up. The shit that those guys were doing back in the day, and for big guys too. I mean, they were years ahead of their time. They were very innovative. They were good. They were good. They were a attraction. Let me tell you, they were a attraction. I loved watching those guys, man. But yeah, a former WWF Tag Team champion, also worked that he had did down in the UCW. The Pro Wrestling Federation made it on the PWI 500 twice, believe it or not. Yeah, he was that damn good. He was that damn good. And also, I want to say rest in peace. This one definitely hits really, really close to home for me because I definitely was a fan of his music and his contributions to the rock, all things rock and heavy metal industry. Rest in peace to Ace Frehley, who was the original lead guitarist and did a little bit of vocals here and there for the rock band Kiss. He passed away at the age of 74 a few days ago. He was never quite the same after experiencing a nasty fall in his house, and he basically succumbed to those respected injuries. Quite unfortunate. You know, a lot of people, you know, they think it's a joking matter when you're like, wow, you know, you fall in your own home. Like, how the hell does that happen? You'd be surprised. And I have said it many times over the years. It doesn't matter how old you are, like, it will happen. And the most important thing that you pray and hope is that when you have that fall, you are somewhere in a position where you can somehow um, catch yourself, from banging your head, and or doing worse to your body. But really, you know, you don't want to land anywhere on your head because the last thing you want to do is risk a serious concussion or worse. You don't need to have no damn bleeding aneurysm inside your head and all that. But Ace Frehley has suffered a really nasty fall at his home. It forced him to cancel some tours. And TMZ had reported that he'd been put on life support with a ventilator to due to the brain bleeding that was caused from that fall. So it goes exactly with what I was just referencing a few seconds ago. Look, let me be real with you. I fell in this house that I'm in, and I've been living in this house now for let me see, almost I think 16 years now. Um, Let me tell you something. I have fallen in this house on 5 occasions. 5 occasions I have fallen in this house. And each of those falls has happened involving our top stairs. So when you first come in, you know, you got the middle level, you know, you got our living room, you got our kitchen, all that. And if you go upstairs, that's where, you know, my recording studio is, bedrooms and all that. And the stairs, it's about 20, 25 steps. Carpeted, and you got a handrail. There is a handrail that you can use and all that. And since I've lived in this house, I have fallen. One time I can tell you I fell because actually 2 times that I fell, I can tell you it was because my dog was, I don't know what she was thinking, but you know, under my foot, next thing you know, whoa, slip and fall. I remember all the falls. None was by far the worst than the last 2 falls that I had. And I was on crutches for a couple of weeks because I had sprained my ankle pretty bad. One of those times that I really, really sprained it, my wife wanted me to go to urgent care. And I told her, I said, no, like, I think I'm fine. I just need to rest. I was like, I just need to have it, you know. And she's like, no, you really need to go to urgent care. I was reluctant. I said, okay, fine. So we went. Luckily, you know, they did the x-rays. They were able to see, okay, no fracture at all. That's good.
Yeah, probably a sprain. Like, just take it easy. They gave me some stronger ibuprofen and some muscle relaxers. And but to this day, like my right ankle, like to this day, it still acts up. I could be laying in the bed totally fine. I will wake up in the middle of the night and my right ankle will just start hurting. You know, um, falls can happen to anybody. Falls do not discriminate. Doesn't matter how old you are. So and it's one of those things I always say to people: if you got a loved one who you know from time to time, slips and falls, and or is up there in age, you really want to make sure that heaven forbid it's a situation like Scott Hall. You want to try to avoid that. Do whatever you got to do. Get a little life alert, like whatever and everything. That's really a sad way to go out, though. True, fun little. You see, I'm taking it right. You see, I'm taking my melatonin. I'm making sure I'm going to bed on time. Um, Fun little trivia for you guys. Lighten the mood up a little bit while we're talking about Ace Frehley and everything. And definitely, I respect and appreciate all his contributions. I am a huge Kiss fan. For me, it's so weird too because I was telling Tams this the other day. I said, "Man, all these people that we grew up on in the '80s, going to the '90s, and they all are just they're dropping. It's we're appreciating and respecting their legacy, but at the same time, it's also a very dark reminder, a very dark, morbid reminder that we too are much closer to our expiration dates. That sounds so messed up, but like if you really stop and you think about it, it's really, really true and everything. But no, that was not the lighter. I know some. Damn, Lee, that was the lighter side. No, 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 no. Some fun trivia for you guys if you want to try to look like you know your shit and all that. Ace Frehley. The last time that he contributed to a Kiss album, you gotta go as far back as oh god, I think you gotta go as far back as 1995. What was the name of that album that came out? It was the only album that reunited all four original members of Kiss. I think it was called Psycho Circus or something like that. The name will come to me when I least expect it, but I remember 1995, and I remember like a couple of my friends were pushing the hell out of that album. And I remember how I eventually ended up picking up the album as well. And I played that album like non freaking stop, man. I was so excited. And it was really funny from that. That all basically stemmed, that album pretty much came to be really as a result of what happened. I think it was just a couple of years prior when you had the MTV Unplugged Kiss session that had came out. And I don't know why I was thinking 1995. I think it was actually 97 or 98 Psycho Circus. I think that was, yeah, yeah. That was the first and only album to involve all four original members since the Dynasty album, which is definitely one of my all-time favorite Kiss albums and everything. But yeah, look up the MTV Unplugged Kiss joint if you've never ever ever checked that out. That pretty much was the precursor to eventually the original members, ironing things out, getting back together. Ace Frehley also having a successful solo career. Matter of fact, he put out a solo album, I think it was last year, if not the year before. It was definitely recent, within the last 2 years. pretty good solo career and all that. So it's been awesome seeing a lot of tributes come about for the man and everything. Also, I want to give a D'Angelo update. I know last week we reacted to the news of R&B, neo soul, black singer D'Angelo, right here from Virginia, the DC metropolitan area. He shockingly passed away last week at the age of 51 due to pancreatic cancer. I'm already seeing the chatter right now from fans wondering what's going to happen with his music that he was working on. Um, God damn it. I mean, the man hasn't even been buried yet. Funeral arrangements hasn't even been made yet, and we're already going in that direction. Okay, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. I get those though. There are those fans that just they want to mourn in their own respected way and appreciate all that was the genius of D'Angelo. I get that, guys. But look, if you all are really true D'Angelo fans, this isn't long-winded, people. Let me say this. If you all are truly D'Angelo fans, you consider yourselves D'Angelo fans, then you know deep down in your heart how much of a perfectionist D'Angelo was. That's why it took so many years from Voodoo to 2014's Black Messiah. Okay? So I say that to say the greatest way that his legacy should be honored, knowing that this guy was a perfectionist, don't release the music that, especially if he didn't go, this is complete, let's put that to side, let's work on the next one. Like, that's the last thing you should be doing. Now, if we really do want to see a proper postmonius release, a really great celebration of this man's life, then when the time is right and people, the family and everything, colleagues, they are able to mourn, maybe this conversation can be had a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years, like however long it takes for everybody to try to heal from this sudden loss. I definitely feel that with D'Angelo's musical brothers and sisters in Lauryn Hill, in Common, in Questlove, Raphael Sadiq, you need to have them somehow be involved in the production of a postmonius release for D'Angelo. I would also even recommend seeing if you could get Ali Shaheed Muhammad involved, and also Adrian Young. If you can get a nice setup, powerhouse lineup with all of those people involved, then I think D would be quite proud of that lineup. If there is a heaven, right, and the heaven is smiling down on us, and somewhere our loved ones are there in that thing called a perfect utopia and everything, then okay, make it happen. Then make it happen. Take your time, take all the time you need, make it happen. Uh, but I really, personally, I'm hoping nothing is released. I hope we just are in a position where we can appreciate what's out and about now and pass that on for generations to come. Let's see. Other than that, a couple other little tidbits get into before we get ready to wrap it up. Um, Tron. I see that movie is bombing bad at the box office. Power of that Jared Leto allegation, man. It's quite unfortunate. They did not even break even. All the money that was spent, if I heard this right, it's like negative 135 million or something like that they're in the hole by. Like they have yet, and it doesn't look like they're even going to break even. There's a crazy thing too. They had a good showing, um, whenever the release was for them that respective weekend. They had a solid little joint, but it just quickly nosedived. So maybe they'll be able to recoup some of that on streaming platforms. Have to wait and see how that plays out. I definitely want to get into the talk of AEW WrestleDream. Look, I watched it. I don't want to do a full blown review because then that'll take us to like, a 2 hour show and everything. But I did watch WrestleDream in its entirety over the weekend. I know Tony Khan had commented on the issues that was happening with Amazon and those that were trying to watch WrestleDream through Amazon. Tony Khan saying, hey, not AEW's, in a nice way, wasn't any issue on AEW's part. This was strictly an issue on Amazon's part. So pretty much Tony Khan letting it be known, yo, this is out of our hands. And because he also noted that HBO Max, they were fine. Pay-per-view providers, those outlets were fine as well. I actually ordered it through pay-per-view. I went the traditional pay-per-view route, and mine was fine. For those of you not aware, basically by the time it got to the right before the main event, there was this weird blackout, I guess. No audio, nothing, and so folks, for some, they missed out on the last three matches, and then definitely for the vast majority that ordered through Prime. They weren't able to see the main event match between Jon Moxley and Darby Allin, which was a insane clusterfuck of a fight. And then to see the return of Old Man Sting, as I have dubbed him over the years, only this time, I wasn't sure if I was looking at the icon Sting or if I was looking at King Diamond. I mean, seriously. I swear I was looking at King Diamond. Yeah, it was insane. But that, oh my God, there was so many gruesome spots in that one. Seeing Darby be thrown onto the announcer's table and the way he just bounced off that damn thing, the thud, and then him bouncing off of the announcer's table. I mean, there's a lot of that shit that was just, what the hell, man? It was brutal. It was really, really brutal. It's look, Tony Khan ain't lying when he says that AEW is for the sickos, and that is exactly what WrestleDream was all about. If there was ever a reason to watch WrestleDream, it was for that match right there. It was funny because I was poking my head around in a couple of different chats, and it was interesting seeing some of the fans' reactions. I don't want to watch that shit. I don't want my IQ being lowered. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but you be that same mofo back in the day with ECW. It's all good though. It's all good though. But Darby Allin defeating Jon Moxley, getting help there from the icon Sting. Hangman Adam Page successfully retaining his AEW world title over Samoa Joe. God, I thought I was seeing Prime Joe once again, man. Joe looked pretty damn good in that one-on-one defense. Mercedes Moné in a winner takes all match, AEW TBS championship. It was an open challenge. The person that would come out to accept that challenge would be Mina Shirakawa. She put up her ROH, her interim ROH Women's Championship on the line. Winner takes all. Mercedes Moné got that joint. Look, is it comical seeing Mercedes Moné getting all these damn titles, and besides the TBS Championship and the ROH, like, We don't really know about these other promotions. And I know we're going to have some people, you should Google it. And, look, even if you decide you don't want to Google it, at least have it be a situation where Mercedes Moné is being challenged every time we see her on AEW programming. Let this woman be challenged by whoever the top 3, 4, 5 people are for that respective promotion that she has the championship, the women's championship title around her waist and all that. Like whatever promotion that's from, let the top 5 or whatever, whoever it is, rotate it. Let them do it. Like really take it back to the old territory days. It's really interesting because the running gag right now is, well, that's good that Mercedes Moné has all these titles, but can fans name all these titles? They can. It starts looking very comical. Like, you understand the effect that is supposed to be put out there. You understand it. But when it is done to the point of nausea, and it's done and made to kind of come off feeling cheap and comical, you're missing your marks on so many levels. Chris Statlander, meanwhile, fantastic match against Timeless Toni Storm to retain her AEW Women's Championship. Love the cross overlapping that's been going on between Statlander and Mercedes Moné. Moné, basically, you got something I want. You're next, right? Speaking of the women, AEW Dynamite this week, we are going to see the brackets for the upcoming AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament. Winners will get championship gold. Cal Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, AEW TNT Championship. Fletcher retaining. Fantastic one-on-one. Fantastic. Probably one of the best Mark Briscoe one-on-one matches I've seen in recent memory. I'm trying to think if I watched. No, I didn't watch any of the pre-show stuff. I did not watch any of the pre-show stuff. I pretty much came in on the main card. Jurassic Express defeating the Young Bucks. What was that? It was the 500K tag team match, but I like how when the Bucks came out, what was it? $32.17 bucks. Their whole graphic for WrestleDream was hilarious. I loved it. As far as, did this really kind of live up to WrestleDream, like the original theme of when this WrestleDream event was created a couple of years ago? Not really, but you did have some decent matches that was in there for the most part. Yeah, it was okay. It was okay. Nothing really to really write too much home about, but definitely there was a couple of matches in there. A little long-winded, I gotta say. A little long-winded. Especially when it came to the media scrum. I remember it was about to be 1 o'clock in the morning and the media scrum still hadn't came on. And you kind of wondered if it was going to come on. And I think it wasn't until about 1:30 in the morning is when the scrum had finally began. You're like, Jesus Christ, Tony, what the hell, man? Let's see. Yeah, so that's that. Trying to see if there's anything else. Oh, before we get ready to wrap up, this stuff that's going on back and forth between former AEW trainer and producer Sarah Stock and the widow of Brodie Lee, Amanda Hubert. I don't know why this crap went down the way that it did, but it was just so. For those of you that might not be aware, let me just kind of get you guys caught up to speed. So Sarah Stock, she sees a GIF that AEW puts up of the Moxley Darby Allin fight, and she says, "You know who should stop this? Mothers. with their remote control. This is worse than the plastic bag over the head. Kids are going to end up dead trying this stuff at home at AEW. Now, just for the record, by the time this match had came on, it was definitely a little bit past midnight. To my point, Amanda Huber responded to what Sarah Stock said by saying this was midnight on a pay-per-view. Actually 11 something, but it's all good. Meanwhile, when you were working, you choked another woman out with a belt. Where was the outrage over kids trying that? And you want to quote tweet a video of me talking about kids' grief to defend you being a hypocrite? Fuck all the way off. Sarah's come back to that. Ignorance to how the industry works. No need to get hysterical. Not surprised, though. The first day I met you, you spent the entire ride in a tizzy, tearing down Sting's daughter and Tony Khan for allowing her to take your spot in AEW Outreach. And Amanda Huber's next shot, she shared some leaked private texts. One of them saying, I texted her before I tweeted. Her reply was that I needed to be tougher. Quote tweeting a video of me talking about kids with grief to defend yourself is a piece of shit behavior. I expected better of you. How fucking disappointing. Keep telling lies online. Maybe one of the dirt sheets will cut you a check. You know, obviously this exchange, it goes so much deeper and it goes beyond two people arguing over a spot or a particular series of spots in a match, or just the functionalities, the mechanisms of this match, period. This is a blend of professional work history, leaking private text exchanges, and then personal accusations. You know, I put out a tweet reacting to this and everything. And I want to read to you what I had said out in the open. I was not blasting either one of these women, but my position on this was just, you know, and I don't expect for people to retweet this, like this, interact to it and all that, because it's too neutral. I think it's not a case where you're going, yeah, tell that woman she needs to fuck off, right? Because let me read to you what I said first, because it's a perfect segue to, unfortunately, some of the stuff that had happened to Sarah Stock shortly after she put her thoughts out. I said, I must admit, it's sad to see unhealthy reactions to Sarah Stock opinions over the weekend concerning AEW's main event. I'm all for healthy discussions and debate, but what I've been seeing, name calling, bringing up someone's past brush with the law, lot of degrading comments. At the end of the day, like what you like, watch what you want to watch, support who you want to support. Just keep it civil and move it along. Not everything and everyone needs a reaction or a comment. Sometimes it's best to just keep it moving along. All this passion on wrestling could be better placed on more important issues. Our government shutdown, for starters, which, if you're keeping track, especially if you know somebody that works in the federal government or you be that person that works in the federal government, this is now day 11 going on 12. Oh, correction. This is now day, what is this now? I think 18 or 19, but I said 11 or 12 because this was the 11th or 12th time they tried to see if they could pass a bill and it failed. So we're still experiencing the shutdown. I also said advocating for early checkups to prevent cancer after the loss of D'Angelo last week. helping families that rely on food stamp figure out ways to ensure they have a good Thanksgiving because everything that's going on with the government shutdown, food stamp coverage is about to run out. And there are going to be thousands to thousands of families that are so dependent on that money. That is pretty much how they're able to feed themselves and their kids for that entire month. Now, those same parents are going to be, for a lot of households, let me tell you something. It might not be a big deal to you guys, but let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. Especially for families that's doing what they can to get by. There's no greater blessing in the world than when you're able to send your kid off to school. You know your kid is getting two guaranteed meals. They're getting breakfast and they're getting lunch. And the only thing you got to worry about is hooking them up with a really good dinner and essentially feeding them 3 meals on the weekends that they don't have school, right? It's kind of unfortunate what all is going on here. I went on to say, figure out ways to ensure they have a good Thanksgiving, but what do I know? And that's pretty much, the heart of the matter on this. Sarah Stock had every right to feel the way that she felt, and the amount of venom. Just, I was seeing grown ass men. I was seeing their avatars and everything. I was seeing grown ass men call this woman ugly, ugly looking, Val, just the worst names that you could think of. People bringing up her past history with the law from a couple of years ago. Okay, so she had a lapse in judgment for, DUI or whatever the hell was going on. Like, show me somebody that has lived on God's green earth for as many years that Sarah Stock has been living, if not longer, and has never gotten in any kind of trouble. First of all, I'll pat him on the back and I'll say, great, you never got in trouble with the law. Whoopee-doo. You never had any type of a run-in with a police officer. Great. That's good for you. But, like, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. This shouldn't have been a case where it's holier than thou and, people jumping out there saying, this woman is just jealous. The paycheck stopped clearing and now she's just being freaking petty and like it just had no business going down the way that it did. I would imagine for Amanda Huber, she is just so appreciative, so grateful that AEW has been there for her in her darkest hour, continues to be there for her and her family. And yeah, man, you probably are going to do everything in your power to wave that flag and everything. But, I think both sides were wrong to a certain degree because look, for Sarah Stock, look, when it's all said and done, we're talking about a pay-per-view. That's the key 3 letters there. PPV, right? Keywords, pay-per-view. So you got to go out of your way to have watched, now should AEW have maybe put out some of the graphics? Probably not, but they were trying to create social engagement. They were trying to create buzz and all of that. Okay? And obviously that is going to get a lot of people talking. Let me tell you something. You're going to have those that's going to be talking and haven't even seen the pay-per-view. They're just going to be reacting to that GIF that they saw online. What the hell is this stupid mud hole, mud slop bullshit, and they're going to be reacting to that without really having the full context and everything. But she's been removed now from AEW for, X amount of months. Obviously she felt a certain way about some of the things that was happening in that company. And, hey, now she's in a position where she can be vocal and everything. But it's I get it. You don't want to bite the hand that's feeding you. You don't want to talk bad about your employer. I get that. Like, everybody gets that. Everybody does, right? And yeah, even when you're trying to be diplomatic and you're trying to be like, yo, these guys need to tread lightly, hey, I'm wishing the company well. There are so many people that I know that work there. Hell, I'm still friends with a lot of the people that are there. I just want them to play it smart. Not everybody that's reading those comments that's being put out initially are going to be thinking to that level, unfortunately. And for Amanda Huber to take it the route that she took it, that was great for her to say, hey, look, I'm a parent and I put my kids to bed. You know why? Because I know the type of guys that Jon Moxley and Darby Allin are, and I don't need my kids seeing that. So, hey, I did the right thing here, and and that's good. But it really didn't need a reply. It really did not. Could have just left it alone and just keep it moving along. We got to be careful with our respected social media platforms, because whether we like it or not, we are, to an extent, social media influencers. And if there was ever a time where I wish Amanda would have told her respected followers, hey, she's entitled to her opinion, just as I am entitled to my opinion. There's no reason for name calling and, this is just a conversation, but it went so personal. You can definitely feel that level of mistrust, and there's definitely some personal stuff there that hopefully both of those women can work on together behind the scenes and find peace going into the holidays. Like, seriously, who's got time for all this fucking drama? I know not me. As we get ready to dip out, I definitely want to take this time out, and I want to recognize some of our sponsors, because without them, content like what you're checking out right now would not be made possible. Shout out to my good friends over at justmovieposters.com. Halloween is coming. Don't let those bare walls be the scariest thing in your room. Head over to justmovieposters.com for some awesome movie posters starting at just $5 to $7 plus shipping. Shipping is very affordable, though. Transform your space, show off your fandom, and banish the bareness in that room, that wall, once and for all. JustMoviePosters.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at JM Posters and on Facebook at JustMoviePosters.com. Make sure you spell out DOT so you can find them. We're also brought to you in part by our friends at Terrapol Premium. Wake up your senses with bold flavor and smooth vibes. Terrapol Premium brings you top tier coffee and teas crafted for people who love quality, energy, and most importantly, good taste. From rich blends to chill herbal sips, they've got your daily fuel covered. Check them out today. We're also brought to you in part by our friends at iwanttolearnsql.com, your hands-on gateway to mastering SQL. Your next pivot in tech begins with a solid query. Check them out. iwanttolearnsql.com. And finally, the RCWR show with Lee Sanders is brought to you in part by our good friends over at the IME iRadio station, your global soundtrack featuring the hottest indie hits, top 40 hits, all from around the world. Discover some hidden gems from the US, Europe, Canada. Tune in, vibe out, discover your next favorite track. Streaming 24/7, the IME iRadio station. Shout out to Mish Thomas and Joe Numbers of Wrestling Soup. Shout out to my man Brandon Shaw from Digging the Greats. He's got a great 4-part series called Mixtape that is underway right now. Your mind will be blown when you understand the history of the mixtape. First 2 episodes are out right now. I think the third one is going to be dropping either this Wednesday night or Thursday night. It's a fantastic series. Check it out. It's free to watch on YouTube. Free to watch on YouTube. I've been a fan of Brandon's now for, I would say, about, God, time flies. I think it's been about maybe 3 years now that I've been checking out his work. And I tell you, what he's done with this special mini series, it is awesome. Seriously, it's awesome. And you're in and out. You start watching these things, they're only like 25, 26, 27 minutes, but it goes by so goddamn fast. Check it out. Some really good stuff. Also, shout out to my man Julian Cannon from the Nocturnal and Digiday. Looks like he's working on some new exclusive stories. Can't wait to see what's going on with that. I definitely want to. I know he's reviewed probably or getting ready to review the season finale of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. I am just now starting to catch up on this current season that wrapped up. I just did the first 3 episodes last night, so I'm looking forward to seeing how things end. Don't spoil it for me. Don't spoil it for me. I'm looking to seeing how it ends though. Love the new theme. Love the new theme. Got that whole Spaniard type of vibe going on. I'm picturing senoritas, dancing on top of tables, waving the dresses around, and men, doing a little clapping and all that and everything. And I think that's what they were trying to go for. Mission accomplished, I think. So your next edition of the RCWR show going to be coming at you guys on, let's see. I know NXT is going to be doing Halloween Havoc. I just might do a post show. I'll keep you guys posted. I know as we get later into the week, I will at least preview and offer predictions. We can definitely do that. I've been watching enough NXT, so I can definitely sound off on that. I hope, speaking of NXT, that this Tuesday and the following couple of Tuesdays, I really hope that WWE tosses NXT a bone, because I will leave you guys with this. TNA did their Bound for Glory show. What was that? Not this weekend, but the weekend before, where Mike Santana is now the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion and everything. But check this out. The next 3 weeks, 2 weeks for sure, TNA is going to be doing a Bound for Glory 2-part special. I don't know if it's going to be a 3-part, but it's definitely going to be a 2-part special. It begins this Thursday. You'll get some exclusive new footage, some new interviews, some behind the scenes stuff. But as far as a new episode of Impact Wrestling, doesn't look like it's going to be happening until November 13th. That is a huge, huge, huge problem. Seriously. You did your biggest pay-per-view of the year, and you crown a new World Heavyweight Champion and all of that. And for your own respected brand, you're not going to be back with a new show for 3 weeks? Come on. Come on, TNA. Come on, Anthem. You got to get that shit together, man. Be kind, rewind. Check out previous episodes of the RCWR show you might have missed on demand on the downloads, wherever you get your podcast. Just search the RCWR show. You could also get at me on social media as well. Use the same handle. Yo, show the YouTube channel some love if you haven't already. Go make sure you hit the subscribe button for this same episode. You could have this episode and our whole playlist just playing in the background. Just hit the like button. Oh, another video is starting. Hit the like button. Helps out as far as putting more eyeballs on the content and everything. Appreciate you guys as always. Until next go around, wishing all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Have a good night, y'all. Peace.